Partially in here, partially somewhere else. So when he runs in, we'll handle that. The first presentation, each presentation is going to have 25 minutes, and it's going to be both the presentation and questions in that time. So I'll give you guys a heads up on time. The first presentation is the GLAMwiki toolset project progress report, and Maarten Dammers and Dan Onto is going to be in for David Haskiya. So I'll hand it over to them.
Welcome to the GLAMwiki toolset project session. We were supposed to start a couple months ago, but you know, with projects you get delays. So work is about to start. We hope to start on the 1st of August. We're going to talk about what we're expecting to be doing. My name is Maarten Dammers. I'm one of the Commons users. I've been involved with GLAM for quite some time and also working on the big uploads. David Haskiya was supposed to be here, but he couldn't make it. So Dan here is standing in for him, and I'll let him introduce himself.
My name is Dan Onto. I work as a freelance web developer. I've worked on a lot of different projects, ranging from nonprofits to profits, corporations, individuals, small businesses, things like that. And I've worked in the past with Wikimania recently on their different projects. It's been about a year and a half. I've gone on and off of different projects that they have available. And let's see, what else can I say about myself? I think that's about it. I'll get into Wikimania in a little bit longer for those of you who don't know what Wikimania is.
So, what is this all about? We've been doing large content donations on Commons for a couple of years. I picked some of the earliest ones. Maybe some people know from which set this is. Anyone? Yeah. Yeah, Bundesarchiv. This was basically the first real big batch of images coming into Commons. It was the first time for us. I think Daniel back there did it, and we put them all online on Commons, and I think people are still sorting them out as we speak. And that felt like more. So in the Netherlands, we also had a content donation from one of the museums, the Tropenmuseum. Big collection of images of Indonesia, Suriname, and of objects. And things in Germany, more happened. Maybe someone notices this, knows this one. This is from the Deutsche Photothek, a German archive. A lot of photos from former Eastern Germany. There's huge batches of images. I think another one is coming in the next couple of weeks. And more people start showing up. This is from the Brooklyn Museum. The other three were done by Commons volunteers, and here the museum decided to do it themselves. That was pretty difficult for them. I think one of their employees spent weeks and weeks and weeks to be able to put everything on Commons, getting blocked, getting reverted. He managed to get it online. It's a small miracle. Or in the Netherlands, we got a lot of old photos from politicians. These are the top photos are from the lunch event we did. So. They're much older over there. That's like last year, and this is somewhere in the 80s, most of the photos. So we're getting all these collections of images, and now, especially for Dominic, I'm not sure if he's here, but it was pretty hard to get them online, right, Dominic? You're still working on that, on getting everything online, and it takes a lot of time to sort them out and to get them on Commons and to get them used. I went to the Nara collection a couple of weeks ago in the parts that not have been sorted out, and there's these beautiful images in there, and nobody knows they're there. So all these, this is the donations we managed to put online, but only for the Netherlands. We have like all these museums who are anxious to put their stuff online on Commons and make it part of the collection, but we don't have the resources for that. We don't scale. If you look on Commons, we have a request page to put large amounts of images online. We call batch uploading or data ingestion. And I think there are over 80 requests right now, and that's only the ones where people bother to make a request. So if you now want to do a request and you see the 80 things still in the queue, you probably think like, nah, I'm not doing that. So we don't scale. If you want to put large amounts of images online right now, you need too many skills. You need to know how to write a robot. You need to know how commons exactly work. You need to know how to work with metadata, like museum records, all the standards you have, and how to make use of that for the commons. So all the things I just show is all custom code, especially written for that particular project. It doesn't scale. There's a lot of code duplication, so you're instead of having one central code module, you keep improving and expanding. It's all copied and forked, and it's a mess. We're running really short on volunteers. Because it's really difficult, we have a very small group of people who are able to do it, and they're all overworked. And even worse, sometimes people start doing this and they start all the way from scratch without using the lessons learned from the previous uploads, they will go into all the traps we went into too. So over the last couple of years, we've noticed this. We saw this coming. We've been doing outreach to GLAM institutions for a couple of years, and we knew at some point, if they would all say yes, that we would be completely overloaded. So we started talking about how to scale this up. I think the first real meeting was at the GLAM camp in New York. I don't know who of you were there. I see Ashley and Liam and Dominic and Laurie. And we talked about how can we do this more professional? How can we scale this up? First, we thought, let's write a project plan on how to improve this and ask the Wikimedia Foundation. And they were like, this is a really good plan, but it's not a priority for us. We have way more important things than GLAM. We're you know, the strategic plan from the Wikimedia Foundation. It's all Global South, new editors. GLAM isn't really in there. It's just a side note. So, okay, not the foundation. So I thought, no, maybe we can do it as chapters. But to do a project like this, you have to have organizational capacity. Of all the chapters, this was last year, we only considered Wikimedia Germany to be big enough to handle such a project. But I already have way too many projects. The Wikidata project, all the conferences they organize, and otherwise everything gets centered over there. And I don't think Wikimedia Germany was up to it anyway. They were starting up Wikidata, I think, back then. So we thought maybe we should hire someone external to do this for us. Someone who has the affinity with our movements, has the capacity, and also wants to do this together with us. So last year at Wikimania, before that we talked with Europeana. Over the last couple of years we have a lot of contacts with them. Dan here will explain what Europeana is exactly for the non-Europeans, and people from Europe will also wonder what it is. And we talked with them about doing this project with Europeana. So we're hiring Europeana to do this project together with us. Wikimania last year was the first version. At the GLAM camp in Amsterdam, we already gave a first initial presentation about this. And the latest thing we're going to do was on the chapters conference this year.
Just out of curiosity, how many people do not know about Europeana? Please raise your hands. Okay, so maybe about half. So that's kind of nice. Europeana is an organization in the Netherlands that is funded through the EU. And let's see, I think we've got the mission statement here. Yeah, there we go. So Europeana enables people to explore the digital resources of Europe's museums, libraries, archives, and audiovisual collections. It promotes the discovery in a multilingual space where users can engage, share, and be inspired by the rich diversity of Europe's cultural and scientific heritage. It's a very broad mission, and the idea basically is bringing all of this content from all of the GLAMs plus more into a space that people can access it online. And Europeana is an organization that has some similarity in the sense of its structure to Wikimedia. You've got Wiki Foundation, you've got Wikimedia, you've got Wikipedia, Wikisource, Wiktionary, all these different aspects. So Europeana also has the same. It has an entity which is called the Europeana Foundation, which takes care of all the legal aspects of Europeana. It has a group called Europeana or Europeana Services. And what that is about is actually creating all these digital services. One of them, let's see if we've got it here, is the Europeana portal. So this is, for example, an access to all of the information that's been collected. Last time I looked, there were about 24 million records that have been collected so far. There's a process which Europeana uses, which they call an ingestion process. So Europeana Services takes care of that tool, developing the tool, maintaining it, enhancing it, and things like that. Let's see, there are other tools in the aspects. There's an API, for example, that lets developers throughout Europe and throughout the world actually to get access to this. Right now, that API is only available to partners. So the partners are about 2,000 GLAMs throughout Europe, and each of them can have an API key, have people within their own departments or others that they sponsor to develop against the API. The other aspect of Europeana, which has to do, so you got Europeana Foundation, and it has these different things, the Europeana Services, which are all these technical services, but it also has something called Europeana Awareness. And Europeana Awareness has more to do with collaboration, more like what Wikipedia itself is doing, collaborating with different people out in the community to help enhance the information that's out there. For Europeana, it's more about getting people to be aware of Europeana, that it exists, to use the content that's out there and available, and to just spread information to different GLAMs that may have not joined or whatnot. There's probably a lot of aspects of this I don't know. David's really perfect for this. This is all new for me because I'm a developer. So anyway, let's see what we've got next. Basically, this is the idea that we've got this Wikimedia or Wikipedia, and the GLAMs and their editors are potential volunteers. There's also the Europeana network itself, which has over 2,000 GLAMs, like I just mentioned. And the idea is the collaboration with this. What would happen, basically, if everything would work together? And let's see what we've got. So basically, inside of Wikipedia, you've got some basic metadata points. You've got the people, the subjects, places, periods, and events, and some other things or elements that are in the articles. However, this information is not metadata. It's not data. You've heard of Wikidata possibly, and some other projects that have been interested in metadata. And for most of the GLAMs, this is what really Europeana's strength is. We go to different GLAMs. You're talking about 2,000 different institutions. Each of them has their own structure and setup for how to set up their metadata. Some are following standards that exist. Some are taking those standards and modifying them slightly. And some are maybe creating their own custom formats, basically, that can be used. And what Europeana has done has gone in and offered a method for ingesting all of these data points, no matter what format you have. Europeana has created two schemes. One was called ESE, and the other one is called EDM. I'm sorry, I don't know what the abbreviations exactly stand for. There's a scientific officer at Europeana. His name is Antoine Isaacs. He's the one who's developed these schemas. And if you're really interested in the schemas that he's developed, I would suggest you go to pro.europeana.eu and look for Antoine's name up there. He's got a lot of papers on there about the schema and whatnot. Let's see what else we got here. The nice thing about the information is it's authoritative information, and it's based off of all of the GLAMs that are out there within Europe. let's see. One of the things that's really key about the information with Wikipedia is that all of the metadata is considered CCO. So it's public data. It's data that can be used anywhere. The actual images or videos or sound pieces, those are not necessarily public and open data. So what's required is to actually put the license visibly displayed within the portal or within the API metadata that you get back so that you know, is this public domain? Is there free access to this piece? Is there some partial use with recognition, so the CC by SA, and then, or is it completely restricted? What else have we gotten here? I guess that's about it for that. Then what happens then is basically we have all this strength with Europeana and its background with dealing with the metadata and with all the different GLAMs and combining all this information. And when, I don't know exactly about the conversations that happened, but with David and Maarten and some others in the group, they were coming together basically and talking about how can we work this out together, how can we use the strengths of Europeana and combine that with the strengths of Wikipedia or Wikimedia in the group, in the foundation. And that has created the concept of this GLAMwiki toolset project. Did you want to get into this one? Yeah, okay.
So the GLAMwiki toolset is a partnership. We have several chapters involved in that. Wikimedia UK, Wikimedia Nederland, and Wikimedia France. The chapters pay Europeana to do this project. We have a project plan or a PIT, project initiation document. And the goal of the whole project is to make a scalable, curator-friendly system for mapping metadata and mass uploading content from GLAMs to Wikimedia Commons. That's really a mouthful, but basically, if you're a museum and you have a lot of content you want to put online, make it open, make it available to be used on Wikipedia, you can use this tool, and it's not, you don't need a PhD in Wikipedia to be able to do that. Smaller aspect of the project is to make clear requirements for statistics and analytics. So it's really nice, like for example, Dominic here put a lot of images from the National Archives online. And now the National Archives wants to know, what is the impact? What happened? So a small aspect is to see what kind of data, what kind of analytics do these institutions want. We're not going to collect them. That's up to the, it's a requirement document for the analytics teams, for example, Eric over there, to be able to use in their infrastructure development. So this is the almost infamous napkin sketch. Last year at Wikimania in Israel, we made a drawing about how it should look. So we have the analysts who, for example, Eric, who looked at data, but more important, we have the curator. So we have on the left, for example, a museum. We have the curators is able to use the interface to say how is this going to be mapped onto the commons, get some previews about how it's going to look, what's the impact going to be, and upload it to commons. The system will have a lot of different plugins or like a library of things we already did. For example, if you have a standard called Dublin Core, it's or extended Dublin Core, and maybe someone is using that. So we build a plugin for that, and then we can use that standard also for other institutions, or other institutions can use that as a basis. Like, my standard is a bit like Dublin Core, but I modified this, this, and this, so you can make modifications to that. So it should be really flexible, user-friendly, and scalable, so people can really start using it. Initially, the project was going to start in April, but got delayed, and now it looks like we're going to start in August this year. It's going to run for at least 12 months, but we're planning on 24 months periods. The whole development, we have a broad goal. So during the development, there will be iterations to see where we end up exactly. We want to have it integrated in the Wikimedia infrastructure, especially Commons. And at the end of the project, it shouldn't be a standalone tool that nobody uses anymore. No, it should be maintained by the Wikimedia Foundation. So it's really like, for example, the upload wizard. Some of you might know that there was a development project to get that online, and now it's maintained. During the project, but it's not like the kind of project where you start working, and at the end you start using it. No, during the development, we want to have GLAMs to serve as pilots. I already showed you some names. It was only in the Netherlands, but those are the kind of institutions we're going to ask, do you want to join us join with us for the pilot project, so we can really get results really quick and improve on that. Of course, Europeana has this huge network of mostly GLAMs in Europe, and we'll use them to get the right partners for good contact for the Commons. I highlighted this Europeana awareness because some of you might have heard about it. This is a different project. It's also a collaboration between the Wikimedia movement and Europeana. But in this case, Europeana is paying Wikimedia Sweden to do all these cool projects. I'm not sure if anyone from the project is here. I saw some people over there. If you know more, want more about the project, ask John Anderson or Lennart. They're both here on the conference. But so you don't confuse the two projects because they are really different. So, any questions about the project? Yeah.
About 4 minutes. So.
Maarten,
Yeah.
how much is this going to cost?
You know that better than me. So answer your own question.
A lot.
Yeah, that was my answer too. The exact numbers are on Commons. The PIT is uploaded to Commons a couple of weeks ago.
Have you thought about using the Wikimedia Labs environment for development purposes, or is this going to happen sort of in a Europeana kind of context? And how much of the development is going to be open for other people to participate?
Yeah, we're thinking about labs. The whole project should really be a Wikimedia project. So code base should be on Wikimedia infrastructure. The testing should be on Wikimedia infrastructure. A bit like the Wikidata project. It's everything is going to be part of our community. It's not going to be a separate project. So if volunteer developers want to help, great. It should be on a place where they can do that.
I know for a fact that lots of GLAM want to have statistics on the usage of their image or what they share. We have lots of tools for that on the tool server actually, like Glamorous, Glamorous 2, Glamorous Reloaded, and etc. But are you also do you plan to do something that will find statistics on usage on the whole internet, because in fact that's what they are asking for.
Now we're just going to write requirements, and your neighbor over there, Eric, and his team can maybe elaborate on that.
Wikimedia is going to has started a completely new project, and it will be based on Hadoop, which is an environment to capture all traffic. We will keep all traffic for a whole year, and then from that raw data we can do all kind of analysis. It'll be about half a year before we can see the first results.
If we still have time, I would like to ask is there a workflow for getting metadata back out of Wikimedia Commons? because in the past that has been a problem.
We talked about it, and one of the things is Wikidata.
Well,
That's about getting it
maybe
out.
somehow. Yeah.
First stage will be to get it in, and we have it. We're thinking about it, but it's probably for a later version.
This is going to be the last question.
Yeah.
So the problem is that there is a queue of institutions that want to upload stuff, and you now start a project that might last for 2 years.
Yeah.
So what will the recommendation be during these 2 years?
Like I said in the presentation, it's not like we can start uploading after the 2 years, but we should we'll have rapid development, agile development, so we can start with the first institutions after the first development cycle.
Very good. Thank you very much. That's all the time we had for questions. If you have more questions, talk to him a little bit later. Thank you. So the next presentation is by Daniel Mietchen.
Can you leave your computer connected? Just save those 2 minutes of getting me connected.
Okay.
So as we transition, he's going to have 25 minutes, and again, we'll save questions to right at the end of the 25 minutes.
And first a bit about the motivation. So there are two observations. Well, the Open Access Media Importer is actually a project. The Open Access Media Importer is actually a project supported by Wikimedia Germany. It came out of the Wissenswert kind of competition that they are holding, or by which they are awarding grants for small wiki projects. And the motivation for this particular project is twofold. One is many articles on Wikipedia do not have any kind of multimedia. And second, many scholarly articles, well, not many, but still quite a few, have supplementary materials that include video or audio. And then the basic idea of the whole project is to link the two, to kind of spider the web, and specifically PubMed Central, for new articles or already published articles that have the right licensing conditions and multimedia materials. Then download those multimedia materials, convert them to the formats that are accepted on Wikimedia Commons, which means it's essentially OGG, which is never used by scientists when they publish stuff, and then upload it to Wikimedia Commons. The basic tool exists now. It has been tested on a test wiki, and yeah, we're basically looking forward to applying for a bot permission and things like that. I don't have much experience with that part of the project, so if you have feedback on that, that would also be appreciated. I have one example of a video that is on Commons here. I think you won't see it from there, so maybe I'll just stop it. But it's a very striking example, if you look at it closely, how a number of bees can coordinate their activity. Well, I'm not playing it. You all have the... Yeah. Well, you just have to Google. So you can see how a large number of bees coordinate their activity, and this can be used. This file is actually being used in several Wikipedia articles related to like biological organization or things like that. And yeah, so this is the kind of illustrative value that such materials can bring to Wikipedia articles. For audio files, it's sometimes even more obvious. So many audio files are just the sounds that an animal makes, especially if the animal species is new, or if there is a case where a new sound has been recorded that is not known for this species before, or it is the first sound file that has been recorded in the literature. Because very often when people, a few years back especially, when they described sounds, they just described them verbally. That this is a chow and this is a quee, and yeah, well, and then you read the paper and you're wondering, okay, yeah, so why not just upload those files? And now the files are increasingly available, and we have all those open access publishers that publish their stuff under open licenses. That and then the question is just how can we connect it? So we have actually set up a tool called the Open Access Media Importer. The code for it is on GitHub, and the description is on Wikiversity. So here being developed means that leads you to the GitHub code. And yeah, we started by taking PubMed Central, because PubMed Central is basically one of the largest literature databases out there in the world. It covers most of biomedical literature, and it has an open, what they call an open access subset. Open access, in their definition, means just free to read. But in order to upload the stuff to Wikimedia Commons, we have to restrict ourselves to materials that are compatibly licensed, which basically means CC0 public domain, or Creative Commons attribution, or Creative Commons attribution share alike. The latter license is basically never used by scientists when they publish something. I found 6 articles in this repository out of many millions. CC BY is the most popular license amongst those that are compatible with Wikimedia use, and there are also quite a few that are in the public domain, mainly because someone from the US government was involved in producing that paper. So the open access media importer contains several modules. It is explicitly designed in a modular fashion so that if you know of another scholarly resource that could be spidered this way, you can just write a plugin that replaces kind of the PubMed part, and then all the rest of the pipeline can be used to import materials from there. So we have this crawler part. It basically goes to PubMed Central. There is a certain way in which you can gather the files from there, from that open access subset. You can get the XML, and the XML follows a certain schema. And in that XML, there are certain tags. There is the license tag. There are also tags for supplementary materials, or there are also tags for figures. The license tag is almost never used. So all the licensing information that we have is basically plain text. Many publishers just write plain text in users are allowed to read this article blah blah for free, which is useless for our purposes. And we have hundreds of such different statements by different publishers, but there are a few that really write down things and link to a specific Creative Commons license that is compatible with Wikimedia Commons. So these are the ones that we can use. And yeah, so that crawler part is existing now. I actually have a demo here, which is a screencast, but it doesn't make sense to play that to you. If you want to have a look, here's there. The instructions are actually on our blog. The blog is linked here from the personal homepage. And yeah, so I'm basically talking now about the things that we plan to do, how we can interface this with other activities that are going on. And there I would like to invite your feedback as well. So another project that is related and also, it is actually sponsored in part by my Wikimedia in Residence grant. So there I have also a part on software development, and the project is also on GitHub. It's called the JUTS2 MediaWiki Importer. JUTS is the XML format that PubMed Central use to store the XML that they get from the publishers. And well, Wikimedia is also kind of sort of an XML reader. So there is the export and import function of MediaWiki that can export and import a certain form of XML. And we're converting from the PubMed Central XML into the MediaWiki XML. The idea there being to facilitate the transfer of, well, basically documents from PubMed Central to MediaWiki. And the sense behind that is that there are now 2 projects going on that try to do the transfer from one direction to the other. One is the topic pages. I just mentioned this in another talk in another session. So just a brief summary is there are some papers that are now being published in scholarly journals and then later go up on the English Wikipedia. And also another project works on the other way around, like publishing Wikipedia articles that have featured article status in scholarly journals. And so for this kind of transfer, we need this kind of converter. And it now exists. It also is available on GitHub. And a question that comes up if we have this kind of transformation process is what about the supplementary materials and the figures? Supplementary materials are covered by the Open Access Media Importer. Figures are kind of on the to-do list for the Open Access Media Importer, because if you already spider for supplementary materials, it's not such a big deal to add spidering for figures in that same document. And there are actually XML tags, and they are actually being used and even used properly by the publishers. So that's something relatively easy, but not done yet. And then we have a bit of statistics. Maybe I should enlarge that graph a bit. Because it gives an idea about the dimension of the materials that we're talking about. So PubMed Central as a whole has on the order of several millions of articles. They started indexing medical literature in 1966, mostly by way of abstracts. And they started doing full text somewhere around 10 years ago. And they really went into doing full text when the National Institutes of Health, the largest research funder and also the largest medical research organization in the world, issued an open access mandate. They sit here in Washington, D.C. as well. And I gave a talk there on Wednesday. And they're also now kind of interested in collaborating. So most of the supplementary materials are actually PDF files, again, like most of the articles are also mainly published in PDF. Then you have Word files and so on, basically not useful for our purposes, but we have color-coded here video, audio, and image files. And so you see we have on the order of a few thousand QuickTime videos, and also a few thousand, XMS video, and so on, some MPEGs. Altogether, on the order of 5,000 video files that have been identified as suitably licensed, and and for which the converter to OGG has not issued any errors, because sometimes the metadata for the media files is also not proper, and so you basically don't know how long, for instance, that video is and things like that. So that's the kind of material that we can work with. One problem we haven't really solved yet is when uploading the stuff to Wikimedia Commons, ideally we would add some categories already to it, other than just upload it by Open Access Media Importer, in order to help people to actually reuse this kind of stuff. So if you have ideas on how to use the metadata, that is quite rich. Normally we have, each supplementary file has a short paragraph describing what is in there. And we also have the whole article. The whole article is open access. We could use some keywords concerning the article, but sometimes the supplementary material, or especially a video, they may have a completely different set of keywords attached to them than the article as a whole. So that's not really solved yet. And another thing is we don't know yet how to interface that with other bot activities, or how to facilitate, if someone else, for instance, were to write a plugin to import papers from, let's say, Archive. Their Archive has an interesting licensing scheme. Basically, they don't show you the license that the stuff is in that they have, but every author, when you upload the paper, you have to indicate the license under which you put that. So it is available somewhere deep down, and a large portion is actually under CC0 or CC BY or CC BY A and could be used in principle, and even a large portion have the LaTeX source code. So you could in principle import from the LaTeX source code available on Archive, and then import all the figures or whatever into Wikimedia Commons. But I have not investigated this in detail, and if anyone were interested in writing such a plugin for Archive or anywhere else, I would be interested in discussing that. Yeah, there is a question here. Wait a minute.
As far as I know, the Creative Commons license require you to actually indicate the license when you publish. So this kind of strikes me as rather strange.
It is rather strange, and Archive isn't really forthcoming in that kind of thing. I have inquired with them several times. They actually require the authors to indicate the license when they upload it, but they don't signal this for the readers. So there is some action to be had. It was not my focus of activities, and I don't feel powerful enough to tell them what to do. But if I'm mentioning this, maybe the discussion can go into a direction when at a certain point we can all see what the license for a certain article is, and then it's certainly easier to spider that and think about turning this into another module. Yeah, then we're also exploring ideas on how to expand that. So for instance, we could, that's not really a wiki project anymore, but once we have all these materials in there, 5,000 science videos, we could think of opening a YouTube channel. And this is just another outreach channel. And then the question is how we could interface this with other outreach activities of Wikimedia, like science videos brought to you by Wikimedia, kind of this kind of stuff. Yeah, and this is the basic things that I just wanted to show you. Now I hope that we will have some kind of discussion. I can go deeper. I can show you the source code, or I can show you the mess that we have with licenses, whatever you're interested in.
So we have a little under 10 minutes for questions. So if people would raise their hand, I can bring you the mic.
I can also show you, maybe if you have time enough, I can go and to some journal articles that actually have supplementary materials. And one of the things that I don't like about that is you just have a section called supplementary materials or supporting information. Every publisher has a slightly different term for that. And then you just have a file name. You don't even have a preview as you have at YouTube. So basically you have no idea, and you have the file size. So you know there is an 8 MB file named this and that, typically after the DOI or so, or even some nonsense. So this is also, in terms of the time that they require the researchers to invest in order to actually appreciate that supplementary material, I think that's not very polite. And that would be another function. If we just could use the existing slide show functions or scripts that some of you have written, then to show what is there, or just a thumbnail feature of videos available in Commons, that is already quite useful.
So what I'm curious about is the actual files are stored on which servers then?
We are now using a test wiki, well, actually several test wikis. One is Species ID, which is a wiki for taxonomic information on which I happen to be admin. So I can do this kind of stuff on Wikimedia Commons. I don't really know actually how it works to get bot permission and so on. And I didn't want to bother with that as long as the thing doesn't work. So the whole workflow now is stable for a month or so, and now I'm feeling comfortable talking about this. And then we can go and testing it on Wikimedia Commons. There are a few other private wikis that have been used before, but they are not used anymore now.
I guess my question is, the end result file after the conversion process ends up on which server?
Well, we have a dedicated server for that, just for the project. We kind of rented it until something like September, and then the idea is to hand it over to tool server or labs or whatever is prepared to take it over. The problem is, at the hack days in Berlin, I wanted to try both, but labs was not really accessible, and tool server is stopping working every now and then, so I don't really know how to handle and how to hand that over.
Right, so the whole scalability factor, basically, you know, right now it's a closed project or a more limited scope for the project, right? Where it's being tested and played with, and then ramping that up, let's say it's opening it up to the entire world, and what that would entail would be...
Well, I don't know whether the entire world would actually need it. If the functionality of it as it is now is take stuff from PubMed Central, put it on Wikimedia Commons. This is enough if one bot or somebody does it. We don't need 10,000 people do it at the same time, then we would have 10,000 copies of the same thing. No, no, I think they should, in the end, visit Wikimedia Commons. Or if we open a YouTube channel, but that's another thing. But in principle, the idea is to put this stuff on Wikimedia Commons, and then people use it as they use any other file on Wikimedia Commons. So we don't want to have a broadcasting audience or so.
Any other questions?
Maybe a brief comment. When you said you want to hand it over to labs or tool server, well, labs and tool servers are platforms. The question is, who is actually going to run and maintain it?
I could do that. Or the developer who developed it, or maybe a group of people. I think once the code is stable, it should be easy to maintain. Because also the people at the NIH who run PubMed Central, they're aware of the tool, and if they do some changes to their code, I'm notified anyway, so this shouldn't be a big problem. For me, it's just I've never done such a thing. I'm more on the content side usually, and so any help I can get from the technical side would be appreciated.
thanks.
Any other questions?
Or also if you have features suggestions or something like this. Like we have the question, sometimes the description of those files, they can be quite long, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs or so. And very often they also contain loads of abbreviations that have been defined somewhere in the paper before, so we can really make this more useful. But this is kind of beyond the scope of this particular software project, for which the scope is actually bring those files from the hidden database onto Wikimedia Commons where they are more visible.
For categorizing the multimedia files, you maybe could add a feature to go back to the PubMed database and find the mesh terms for which the...
Yeah, but the mesh terms are for the article itself. And as I mentioned, these mesh terms may not normally, may sometimes be quite remote from what the video actually shows.
Any other thoughts or comments? If you don't mind, we might move on to the next one because we would be running over if there's anything else. Feel free to say something else if you want.
Hello, everybody. My name is Angelika. I'm from the German Wikimedia chapter. And yeah, first of all, I have to mention this talk has nothing to do with GLAM. I can't really say it. I don't know. I want to tell you something about supporting tools for a diversified Wikipedia, and I want to tell you about the Render project. Wikimedia Deutschland is partner in this project, which started in October 2010, and over there is sitting my colleague Fabian Flöck from the Karlsruhe Institute of Technology. And yeah, I give you a very short overview. Now, first of all, I want to ask, who know the Render project? Give me a sign, please. Whoa. Yesterday there was a speed dating session, so you missed it. And we had a really good meet-up in the evening about bias and knowledge diversity, and yeah, it was really fruitful discussion. So I give you a very short introduction on the overall project. The motivation of this EU-funded project is the World Wide Web offers the possibility for a huge amount of information. There's a large number of viewpoints, of opinions and background to almost every topic one can imagine. But there's additional and increasing number of filtering mechanisms which pre-process the available data according to individual and personalized preferences. So it's really difficult to get an overall view and an all-embracing overview of a topic. So sometimes information is inaccessible or it's really time-consuming to get all of it. So the Render project has its goals to develop methods, techniques and software which help users to understand, to describe and to make use of diversity of knowledge and information. And within this project consortium, there are 3 use case partners which will test these technologies and tools which are developed within this project. And Wikimedia Deutschland is one of these use case partners. So here on this map you can see all the 7 partners of the Render project, which come from 6 European countries. And now what does diversity mean in Wikipedia? A Wikipedia article is usually written by multiple editors, and each editor has a certain point of view, has a certain bias in a certain direction, and it's necessary to sum up all contributions about a topic to get a balanced and overall view of a topic. So we say diversity is a necessity for high quality in Wikipedia. And during the last year, we had a deeper look and decided what are the most important aspects of diversity in Wikipedia. And we found these bullet points, which are mostly motivated by Wikipedia's own quality assurance rules. And the most important one is for sure neutrality, the neutral point of view. And to get a neutral point of view, it's important to have a really good fact coverage, that a topic and an article of a topic covers the most important and significant information about this theme. And to reach this one, it's necessary that an article is up to date. And beside of these parameters, we have a deeper look in the editor behavior and interaction, and especially the KIT and Fabian is working on these issues. So if there are further questions about that, we can speak about it later on. And within this use case, we, Wikimedia Deutschland, have the following goals. We want to support the Wikipedia editors in maintaining and improving Wikipedia articles. And on the other side, we want to support readers in understanding if an article has a bias or a lack of quality. And we want to develop some tools which help the editors to understand these articles which has complex or heated controversies inside. And I said sometimes, yeah, high visible articles sometimes don't need our help because there are so many users which edit these articles and which read these articles, and this peer review process works very well. But there are also some topics of which are really obscure or exotic, where only a few number of editors or readers, and I think these articles need more help. And we defined some use case scenarios which we want to reach with a render project and our contribution within this project. We want to display warnings to the readers and also to the authors if we find some patterns of bias. We want to show if an article seems to be out of date, because probably we found some pointers in the news that there was happened something in the world, there was published something in the newspapers, and the article wasn't updated since 1 or 2 weeks. So these facts might be missing in this article. And then we want to lower the contribution barriers for readers. So we hope if we provide information for readers which points are missing or are false within an article, and if we provide information where to find these missing facts, we hope that a reader becomes a bit more bold to start editing. And for sure, we want to provide analysis results for researchers and interested persons, for sure. So we want to develop the following 2 tools. The first we call Article Statistics and Quality Monitor, and the short form is SQM. And it's in particular to support the readers. There I will show you in some slides more details about it, but we want to show the major statistics and quality scores about this article, so that the reader is able to understand the status of this article. And the second tool we call the task list generator is a tool which mostly helps established Wikipedians which want to cure articles in their preferred category and in their preferred topic. And I decided to take this slide into because it's a architecture. I want to explain that we use different kinds of data. On the one hand, we use things we developed within the render consortium, analysis tools which were developed by the KIT or from us. We want to use general statistics and metadata which are available for each article, and we want to use further analysis tools which are available, for example, on the Wikimedia tool server. There are so many beautiful tools and no one is aware of them, and we like to centralize it a bit and show the results within these supporting tools. Some of this data has to be pre-computed and to be stored in a database because it's a huge amount of data and it's impossible to request them on demand. And the visualization at the front end is the mentioned task list generator and the SQM tool. Within the Render Consortium, we developed some analysis tools for ourselves. I want to go in detail now. If you are interested to hear more about these things, check out this link to this tool server page or come after the session to the Wikimedia Germany booth in the ballroom. Yeah. And we can give you more information about each of these tools, and if you are interested to hear more about Fabian's work on the Wikigenie tool, which is a visualization in the inequality of authorship, you can come and we can show you some more things. And so, more information about the supporting tools. The first one is the SQM tool, and on the right side, you see it was an early mock-up, how this tool could look like. And on the top, you see the statistics which are available for an article. The status, is this article featured or good? When was the first edit? When was the last edit? How many references? How many editors? The number of edits and the number of views yesterday and the number of views during the last 30 days, so you can get information about the relevance of this topic. And then we want to provide some information about our analysis results. This name could change. It's only a mock-up. And there you can find some links where you can get further information concerning fact coverage, neutrality, and so on. And then it's only an example. The idea is to include further assessment tools, further assessment scores. For example, there's a tool available for the German Wikipedia. It's called Wikibuch, which calculates the score by analyzing mostly metadata. And most of you know the article feedback tool, which provides in the current version some ratings for 4 parameters. But yesterday I heard in the session about the article feedback tool, there will be a great change, and the version number 5 has no ratings anymore. There's only a common field. So we have to think about how we could provide the information which are really necessary and good because they are from a user, how we could combine it with our tools. And there are still some open questions. How and where should we include this tool on a Wikipedia page? Currently, we decided to do it as gadget, so it's another tab on the top of the page. But all of you know, readers sometimes have problems in seeing these tabs. They don't understand there is a possibility to add. There is a possibility to see the history of this article. So we have to think about the right position. There's a question?
Yeah, I noticed on some articles already there's like a banner or whatnot that comes up on right in front on top, right underneath the title. That seems like the ideal spot. I mean, I liked it because it came up, it said this article's in question because of these reasons, and all the information that you were already talking about. is that not a good enough
Yeah,
place?
but I
or-
think if you speak about banners, we have to talk with the foundation a bit more. No? Okay, good idea. Yeah, and we have to think about users and readers which are not, which have no account. So they are not able to include a gadget or are not aware of this possibility. And I decided to show you the current state of this prototype. It's very first beginning, and I hope my internet connection is working. Oh, I prepared something. So here you see the Washington D.C. Wikipedia article in the English version, and there's the Haskiya tab where you could get further information about the statistics and the quality. And if you press this one, I prepared it also, you get this, whoa, it looks a bit strange. You get this one, as I mentioned before. And the colors we use to see which things work already. That means the statistic inclusion and import works very good. The fact coverage, which links to the LEA tool on the tool server, works. And you see the Wikibuch data are not available because this tool don't work for the English Wikipedia. But you get the current article feedback score. Just a second. But it's a very first stage of the prototype. It has to be more beautiful. I don't know how to say it. It's not so. It's a first beginning. If you have ideas, okay, probably later, then we would be really happy. The second supporting tool is the task list generator. Many wiki projects and in Germany the Redaktion Biologie use such article lists which contain articles which has to be cured because they have a certain lag, because they have no references, because they are not neutral, and so on. So we decided it could be a really good idea to have such a tool. So a user can select his specific category or the intersection of 2 or more categories, and then he has the possibility to select additional a flaw which he wants to cure. And in this example, we selected the biased article, but you can imagine missing references, missing pictures, missing everything. I don't know. And so the result will be a list of articles, and currently we think about to provide it as an service. So we will provide a request form on the tool server where you can select your category and the flaw, and the results will be computed, and you reach it via email, or we print it on the user page or something like this. But if you have further ideas how it could work and what it's useful for you and your work, please let me know. So we need some more help, as you can imagine, because these supporting tools should help and should support the community. So we need feedback and ideas and questions. What do you need? What do you think about this? And what could we do better? So if you are an editor, please tell us which features would you like to have. If you are a developer and you have a tool which is analyzing quality or certain aspects of diversity, please tell us about this so we find a way to combine it with our tools. We would like to test these tools, and we need some people who are interested and give us feedback and give us more ideas. And if you know more additional research or tools about that, please let us know. You can reach us via this email address, render@wikimedia.de. Or you can visit us today at the Wikimedia Deutschland booth in the Continental Ballroom, or you can write email. And there are some possibilities to get more information. There is a render information page on the MetaWiki. You can check out the toolkit on the tool server where you find more information, or you can visit the official EU project page on the web. So, yeah.
So there's about 5 more minutes to ask questions and whatnot.
Yeah, we'll
about
just
the
add one thing. So I really would love that many people come to the booth so we can actually show you all these tools we had in Render, because there's a wide array we worked on for quite some time now. For example, fact coverage, comparing articles to news articles that speak about the same topic is one thing we work on, and this editor behavior analysis. So we could not cover this here, but I would love to explain that or show it. We would love to show it to you if you come over to the booth later.
So there's about 5 more minutes for questions before lunch.
Sort of a suggestion that the acronym there in a little corner really didn't mean anything to me. Maybe statistics, stats, something else might be a little bit more of a quality, yeah.
So simple, yeah.
I'm wondering how you generate those statistics. For instance, the page views. Do you just take the normal wiki stats page views, or did you build another tool specific for that? Because if you have that tool, it could be valuable to have it as a standalone tool, because many GLAM tools really depend on that. They currently use the grok stats tool, and this kind of slows things down because it's not really a database thing. And so, yeah, I would really be interested in having this outsourced and available in a different form.
Yeah. We checked out the stats grok too, and it's a bit strange because there is a delay of 10 seconds if we request from a tool server page. It's a bit strange, but we use this one currently, but we think about to do it for our own. Yeah. Further questions?
Hello, I'm Sandra Rientjes, Wikimedia Netherlands. I have not so much a question as some additional information. At Wikimedia Netherlands, we're involved in a project, also EU funded, which is sort of the sister project to this one, called Cosine, about developing a tool for automatic machine translation and synchronization of wikis or Wikipedia pages, which makes it possible to compare, for example, a Wikipedia page in the English Wikipedia with one in the Dutch Wikipedia, see where they differ, see where they are the same, and to boost, you even get some suggestions for the translation. So Angelika and I are already thinking, okay, how can we combine these two projects so that we have a really super tool for Wikipedia editors?
Yeah.
Is that one available now? Can we have it as a gadget or something?
Not just yet, but we're working with the developers from the University of Amsterdam to provide some test space. If you're interested, I've got some flyers on the project.
Any other questions or comments?
Thank you.